This is Castle of Castle Does, bringing you episode 2 of Engine Wars! The Cryengine, which makes me cry tears of happiness because this engine is so fucking amazing. Crytek actually has brushes. Check this shit out. Like, they call them brushes. And this is one of the engines that has escaped me over the years. I have not done any actual work with the Cryengine, but I know about it. I have opened it up and experimented with it. But check this out. So like, check this out. The Cryengine has brushes, and for some reason, I mean, they're like referring to static objects as brushes. Really fucking weird. It's watch if I have this selected and I go sphere. Wait, why didn't it do it? Okay, there you go. Boom. Yes, I'm gonna delete that because I totally do not want to save it. Isn't that weird? Look at that. I got a cute kitty cat. Huh. Anyway, so does this tech actually support like geometry creation in the same form of brushes is the real question, and I haven't really had a chance to fully delve into it, but it's just such a gorgeous engine. It really is. I mean, it just really is. I mean, look at that brush. Fully explorable lighthouse, trees and buildings, and I love this fucking engine, man. Okay, so you have a brush, and then you click over here, and you got vertices, edges. Who the hell? Nobody told me about this. Nobody fucking said a word. Crytek Cryengine has brushes. I never knew. I never did. I'm sure. I'm gonna probably find out by everybody's gonna be like, "Yeah, man, you didn't know that? Cryengine's like a brush engine." Like, what the? It has brushes. I'm like modifying brushes right now. Okay, so what else? I mean, it can't. I'm still a little bit in disbelief here. Okay, give me the polygon. Just like. Okay, so I can. Alright, hold down control. The usual controls, and like. I mean, this is the most relaxing place I've had to learn about brushes in a 3D engine. So, one of the things that comes up a lot with the way Reflex handles things, and I wanted to mention this, is that people feel that the loss of an orthographic view is a hindrance towards, brush creation. In this case, however, Crytek does something pretty interesting. It actually draws a grid while you have the brush selected. It actually does this like thing where you can see a grid, like, form right here in front of your face. I'd say that it's something that absolutely should be done for all editing tools that want to keep you in a single 3D view. I mean, just look at that. That's pretty useful. Now, if it had numbers and kind of told me where I was in the world, hey, it'd be even better. But that's pretty sweet, don't you agree? Well, so there are obviously two aspects to level design creation, or brush creation and level design in Cryengine that I need to do more research on. But just at a glance, obviously there's some interesting stuff like this kind of brush creation, and the way that these areas are generated are both well worth consideration and taking a further look. So anyway, let's continue on to the next point. And this is a mistake I did in my last video. I omitted a very important thing. So let's get to that. Well, one of the things that I touted in this version of Radiant in the last episode was its geometry instancing feature, which is a pretty big fucking deal. It's extraordinarily powerful and very difficult to ignore. So one of the things that I said in the video is that nobody else is doing this. I was wrong. I was very, 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 very wrong. And while giving an excuse, misinformation is worse than no information at all. I'm going to apologize and correct myself, and I'll make sure to put an annotation in the previous episode so that everybody can see while I'm sitting there spewing the fact that nobody else is actually doing this. It is actually possible to do it in Hammer, and it does actually work. Let's compare them. Let's compare how it works in Hammer versus how it works in COD Radiant. Now, some of you may actually have seen the episodes where I built a fully functional capture the flag map in Team Fortress 2, and this is a fully built out level, and I didn't know about this feature, and I'm kicking myself because I didn't figure it out. I didn't know it even existed, and I worry that maybe that there are others out there who missed out on this. Okay, so I built this entire level not using the most powerful feature in the editor, period. And that is instancing. It's sitting right there. And if you go through all my old episodes, I never once clicked on this. I never even looked at it. But it was always there. It would have saved tons of time, especially on the creation of doors and all kinds of stuff. I just didn't do it. So, with that said, what was the reason why? Why didn't I know about it? Well, when I went to specifically look at Team Fortress 2 levels, I looked at the existing levels that they had. I took a look and I opened up like Dust Bowl and Two Fort being like the most advanced example. It had like the most weird stuff going on and I analyzed all of the levels for Team Fortress 2, and what I didn't think about, and it never even occurred to me, these levels are ancient. They're fucking old. They haven't been touched in years. So I didn't even consider that was a problem because they wouldn't be using all of the features of the most modern tools. Had I decided to make a Left 4 Dead 2 level, I would have had in their tutorials show me this feature. I just picked the wrong game. I didn't think to look. Oy. But here it is. So what's going on here? What am I looking at? Well, this right here is a func instance. And a func instance is exactly the same thing as a prefab in COD Radiant. It's the same exact thing. This is a prefab, points to a separate map file. And in Left 4 Dead 2, got the entity inspector from Call of Duty Radiant now appearing in Hammer. That is trippy. It's the same exact thing. They're not dot maps in Hammer. They're called BMFs. They have their own way to store basically a dot map file. It's a little bit improved. But anyway, it's doing the same exact thing. So it's pointing to tutorial 5. So what's so far the main difference I've noticed is one thing is that you can leverage the fact in Hammer that I can have more than one level open at a time in the same instance of Hammer. So in the case of working with any of these kinds of like separate little areas or any kind of instance geometry, what you do is you take note of what it is, and there might actually be a better way to do this. Is you then open up a separate map file, right? and then make changes. I'm still pretty rusty with hammer. Okay, so see how I made this change right here? Alright, I click save, and then I click close. Alright, now notice that already it's updated here, and that's the new geometry. Show normal. Okay, cool. Alright. And, okay, so that workflow is pretty damn effective. I would only deduct like a couple of points in the fact that it's just a little tiny bit more clunky because of the way I'm working. I usually like to have separate windows and moved around myself. So like I have my 2D views and everything like that sitting sort of just like this. And if I have more than one, map open at a time, sometimes it might get a little confusing if I have done this, and I'll be like, wait, what the hell window am I looking at? This is the wrong level. I'm looking at this level, but this here is another. So, and then if I click close, I don't even know which one's going to decide to close. Like, oh, it closed the other one. Okay, so it's not quite as slick. However, it's well within the range. Okay, it's well within the range. So Left 4 Dead, if you haven't like messed with Left 4 Dead, you probably totally miss out on these tutorials. But what about CS:GO? Well, let's take a look. Those maps are fairly recent, right? These maps are ancient, like more than ancient. They're Frankensteins. I mean, the one thing that's promising. I'm actually going to say, what are you doing? Why is it? Why is this happening? What is going on? Editors. So, just quickly loading up Office, had I decided to build a CSGO level instead of a Team Fortress 2 level, I would have been much more likely to have seen this feature. So, just a heads up for anybody who's primarily working with TF2, do what you can to learn about this, because it's actually one of the most powerful features in the editor. One thing that was kind of weird is that I wasn't able to actually hide hint and skip brushes and stuff like that so that I can view the level geometry, just because the layer that I had opened was the base layer. So in the case of having the editor loaded up, I don't immediately see a way to solve this problem. But if I have an instance loaded up, I can't actually hide these brushes. If somebody knows how to do that, I'd like to know. But as far as I can tell, this is Hammer loses a couple points on this front because COD Radiant does not have this problem. It uses a different system. Filter settings, which will open up this thing. Just press F, and this gives you global control over the kinds of materials and stuff like that. No matter what is going on inside of the lower layers when you dig down, uh, this controls all of that. Now I described in the last episode as like programmer vomit, but in all honesty, actually, I'd have to say that this is much better than having to deal with, well, it's fucking in your face and nothing you can do about it until you actually go into the layer to hide it. Now, there's probably a way to do it in Hammer. Somebody, please correct me, but that right there, that's one thing. There was a while back where there was a secret in one of these rooms that one of the level designers at Ritual, he hid like a Ritual secret. I think it's gone. Like, I don't see it anymore. It was like you can break through one of the walls here, and you'd be able to see like secret. I don't see it anymore. It was probably actually taken out a long time ago. And where'd it go? Okay, so with all that said, Hammer would still be number 2 in terms of just being a little bit less, but it's still like an amazing editor. Like no real complaints. Its brushes are just a tiny little bit more clunky. It's just a tiny little bit less intuitive. Uh, but if you really break it down, when you look at COD Radiant is really only good at making COD, whereas Hammer probably has a Hammer actually does have a fucking way wider range of different types of games and stuff like that it supports. So it's not too surprising to see it not be as quite as streamlined. But so with that said, as far as brushes are concerned, Hammer does support the main feature of COD Radiant, but COD Radiant still pulls ahead by just a slight margin in terms of just being a little bit more slick on doing the same exact stuff. All right, thank you.
The evil that satisfies your craving.